Hey guys, Matt with Carolina Coops here, and today I wanted to talk about our egg hutches. It is so critical, if you are building your own egg hutch, not to cheat yourself. Don't shortcut yourself. And what I mean by that is if you look at a lot of DIY coops, and I used to do it too, when we would build our egg hutches, the path of least resistance, the thing that we just see over and over, is taking your roof, hinging it up here, and lifting it up. Now, the reason why I stopped doing that almost immediately when I started designing custom chicken coops is because it started to create a leak point. It was actually very difficult to have a hinging roof to be completely waterproof. But the other thing I realized why you don't want to have your roof lift up is not all of us are going to go out and collect eggs only when your chickens are not in there. It's not going to happen. Most of the time when you go in there, there's going to be probably at least one chicken in your egg hutch. And when you lift up this roof and there's a chicken in there laying an egg or trying to, she is going to freak out, because think about it. Chickens are very aware of aerial predators. And when you lift this up, they are going to panic. They're going to run out, go screaming. It's just unnecessary stress to your chickens. So years ago, we decided we're going to do what we call the drop-down egg hutch door. And the other thing I realized about having this drop-down door system is it also allows for anybody to get access to your eggs. And one of the things that I love, after we finish putting a coop together and there's children involved, the first place they go running to is right to this egg hutch. And that, to me, you got to understand, it's just going to be magical for your kids to be able to reach in there and see that present, that beautiful, freshly laid egg. But to get back to you reducing the stress of your chickens, when you got a chicken in there laying an egg, or maybe you got one that's broody, you can open this up and they will not freak out. It's really that simple. But again, I get it. When you're designing your own coop, it's just easier to do the roof, but I promise you it's not worth it. It is worth the time to take a little bit more time in your designing to make sure that you have a moving part like this door on the front of the egg hutch. Make room for your hardware. That's another huge mistake I see all the time, is you underestimate when you're designing it. People shortcut having, you know, in this case with this beautiful Carolina egg hutch, you got to make sure you got plenty of room to catch your gate latch, if you're using a gate latch for your locking hardware, and for your T-hinges. If you don't leave yourself enough room, it's just going to look bad, and or more importantly, you can, when you go to put your screws in, if it's too close to the edge, it'll start splitting whatever material you're using to make your egg hutch. All right, so now let's take it a step further. Now let's start talking about materials. I highly recommend when you're designing your own chicken coop, don't make the mistake of using asphalt shingles. It just absorbs the heat. It's just too hot for chickens. Always remember, it's the heat that kills chickens, not the cold. And when you can use this wonderful metal roofing, it has such a high, what's called a TSR, total solar reflectance. It'll help keep the egg hutch cooler, keep the hen house cooler. It is just very, very important. Now, one of the things that we had to add when we started designing our egg hutches with the drop-down door is, for a while, we used to actually cut the metal at an angle. And it worked, but boy, it was a nightmare. We had metal shrapnel getting all over us. We were breaking blades like crazy. And we just decided it's not worth it anymore. And we started making our own proprietary, as you see right here, this egg hutch flashing. And, you know, truth be told, it worked fine cutting that bevel and the metal roofing, but it was just so time consuming in-house that we now feel is definitely by far worth taking the time to make our own flashing. And, you know, we sell a lot of egg hutches just for our customers that are building their own coop. They don't want to build the egg hutches. This part is included, and it's worth that extra time in the assembly of your egg hutch. And also something that we just added recently is this J channel right here on the front of the egg hutch roof down here at the bottom edge. And the number one reason is, and listen guys, I get it, it is a metal roof, okay? But we have to be mindful of that you potentially can hurt yourself if you go running into it, you know, and accidents do happen. So, you know, we went back and forth with so many different types of ideas with automotive door edge trim. It just would never stay on. We've dipped it in all kinds of different plastics. it actually wouldn't stay on, or it became extremely time consuming. So we went back to the original recipe of let's just make our own proprietary flashing, and that's what we did here. And you see it right here with the J channel. So it's super nice if you're that excited child and you're going running up. You don't have to worry about hurting yourself running into the metal roof. But here's the other thing that we discovered on accident. It just makes sense. It actually acts as like a miniature gutter. Even though you want to make sure you're allowing plenty of drip edge as that rain comes off the roof for that surface tension, because some of it will try to kind of come back towards the egg hutch in this case. You got to make sure that surface tension is broken somewhere. But with the added drip edge, it allows no water at all to actually start dripping underneath here, and it actually directs the water out to the sides. So that was just unnecessary at the time, but it is a nice benefit now looking at it. All right, so now let's go inside the egg hutch and talk about what's going on inside here. Now, right now, I do love our food safe high density polyethylene. We use it for the floor of the egg hutch, we use it for the backer board, and we also use it for the dividers. And what I love is, you know, we cut everything on our CNC machine, and it makes it so it's just that simple to remove your divider. And there's gonna be two reasons why you may want to be able to do that. One, you're gonna find out chickens can get really dramatic and they can start fighting over a nest box. So one of the simplest ways to resolve that problem is take two nest boxes and make it into one, give them a little bit more room so they don't feel like they're fighting over that happy place, that favorite room of theirs, because now it becomes one area but you have room for both chickens in there. The other thing that I really love about our removable nest dividers is if you got a hen that goes broody, give her room to sit on her eggs, and when they hatch into baby chicks, or remove non-fertile eggs after 21 days, put those day-old baby chicks underneath her, you now have room to act as the nursery, as the brooder, and you have room to put the little tiny chick feeder and water in there. So again, by making your nest boxes where they have removable dividers just like that, I feel are well worth it. A lot of DIY nest boxes that we see, or egg hutches, they're shot in, they're permanently attached. Take the time, cut the grooves in there, cut the dado so you can remove them, because you will be surprised how many times you'll wish you'll want to. Nesting material. Now here's something that I have been wanting to do for a very long time, and that is incorporate something that is, in my opinion, the best nesting material for chickens. Now, truth be told, you can just about use anything as long as inside the box the chicken feels safe and secure for laying their eggs. But why not make it really, really nice for them? And all I can say is encourage their instincts. What chickens love is long, stringy material like straw, like hay. Love hay because it's flat. And we've also experimented with aspen pine. I don't know what you call it. It's just shredded up aspen pine pieces of wood that come glued to a mat, and you kind of pull it apart. One of my favorites that we experimented with was actually mohair from our Angora goats, and the chickens absolutely loved it. But long story short, that was going to turn into a $500 nesting pad, so I didn't think that was worth it. Right here is something that so far I like it. I think it could be a little bit better. We are experimenting with, this is the bast fiber from an industrial hemp plant. So this is the opposite of the herd, except for these pieces. This is one thing that I would love for in the decorticating process, to make sure that they can separate. Unnecessary, the chickens don't care, but I know how you guys out there can get. If it don't look perfect, it's not good enough for your chickens, which is fine. This stuff has been great. I love it because, one, it's industrial hemp. The plant can be harvested within 90 days. It's a very strong fiber. It's a very clean fiber. And the other thing that I've noticed with industrial hemp, it stays real bouncy. And the reason why that's important is you want to make sure those eggs are protected when they're laid. And I've noticed with other types of nesting material, even hay, even straw, eventually it does really get compacted. It can become hard. And this, what we've noticed with this industrial hemp bast fiber material, it actually stays very bouncy. And I think the chickens will love it. We're going to start experimenting with it with the chickens, but I really wanted to see what the material is going to look like and how it's going to function for the chickens. And so far, I can tell you I really like it. And then here's the other thing. You know, let's look at the other side of having a drop down door for your egg hutch. You know, we just talked about all the good things. Here's the one thing that can become a problem. So when you go to close your egg hutch door, it should close just like that. What can happen, especially in the beginning when you put your nesting material in there, is the chickens go in there, and they're gonna be chickens. They wanna build a nest, they start kicking out the material, and that's why you don't wanna use pine shavings. You don't wanna use the industrial hemp herd because it's just too small. You want material that locks together to create that nest. But when they're in there kicking that out, eventually it can spill over the backer board here. And then if you ever find yourself having a hard time, you're doing, one of these trying to close your door, 9 times out of 10, there's nothing wrong with the actual egg hutch. What happened is you got material building up here and you're pushing against that. So what I have noticed is when you first set up your egg hutches, if you're using the right type of nesting material where it's long and stringy and you're encouraging their instincts, very seldom do you get any material building up here. But should you, maybe in about a month, or actually about a week, when that nest is really kind of solidified and locked in and the chickens are happy with it, you'll see a lot less nesting material building up here. But that is the only thing that, if you were to make the argument of why not to do a drop down door, I think that is such a minute reason, and the reasons to have it far exceed that. The other thing I was just thinking about too, about the having the drop down door. I know I talked about where it's easy access for the kids to come get to it. The other thing that I do want to mention, especially if you're designing a coop like ours and it's elevated, we have to have it elevated above the deep litter system inside the hen house. That also makes the egg hutch higher than a lot of times you see other egg hutches on other coops where they're really low to the ground. The reason why those egg hutches are really low to the ground is because they do want to make sure anyone has access to the eggs by lifting up the roof. But that's not beneficial for your chickens or for you. So again, another great reason why elevate your hen house, make room for that deep litter on the inside, and makes it so that anyone can come up to your egg hutch, whether it's children, a person of average height, or someone that's almost 7 foot tall. They all have access. If you elevate your egg hutch and you're only lifting up your roof up here, the only people that are safely going to be able to get to the eggs are adults that are very, very tall. All right, guys, I hope you liked all that information. And again, if you are right now going to build your own egg hutch, trust me what I'm telling you. Do the drop down door. Don't cheat yourself and do the lift up roof. You will thank me later. Put in a little bit of extra work and your chickens will also thank you. All right, again, guys, hope you liked the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section. As always, we would love to hear from you. Later.